All right, it's day 19 of the 51 Hudson build. The numbers are starting to get up there, but I don't know. It is what it is. I think I'm doing all right. I'm just waiting for the big catastrophe to happen. So I'm probably putting a bunch of these videos together when I edit this, because a lot of the stuff I'm doing, you know, what am I supposed to do? Time lapse 2 hours of walking back and forth and doing the same thing over and over again? If you build this stuff, you know you're going to spend a lot of time just, you know, figuring things out. So when I left day 18, exhaust manifolds are done. I'm happy with them, so I will not touch them again. And yeah, like I said, looks really tight on that heat shield, but that's just because it's the heat shield. The actual manifold's a good ½ inch away, so I'm going to leave that like that. But I'm good with this, at least to start the car. I'm not going to continue with the exhaust at the moment, because I would like to hear this thing run and make sure I put the oil pump O-ring in and correctly and all that kind of stuff. So next thing on the agenda is going to be wiring. So for wiring, I'm doing the usual no dollar. I have a wiring harness out of a 79 El Camino that I had bought a few months back for some miscellaneous items. There's the main harness, just kind of sitting in the car so far, which are, you know, pretty basic harness. Don't need a lot in this car. And I could just buy an aftermarket harness for $100 or 150 or whatever there, but I had this, so I'm going to use it. I'm going to put a square hole right there for my bulkhead to connect. And maybe it'll actually look something like factory. At least that's the plan. Now, in the middle of wiring, the body harness anyway, we've got the bulkhead right there. That'll work. Starting to string wires. And I'll deal with exact later, but we got the gauges here, headlight switch. I'm going to leave the electrics for the wiper switch in case I ever do electric wipers. I'm going to just leave all the wiring tucked away. We got reverse lights, neutral safety switch. This is a courtesy light. I've got to hang that up. This is going to go to the dimmer switch, which will be on the floor. Fuse box is mounted up there on the firewall. Good spot. That'll work. Right now, I'm just starting to run the courtesy light wiring. This car, I don't see any door jamb switches. So, I don't know what they did for courtesy lights. That'd be interesting. I have to look that up. But I'm going to put Jaguar switches in, which are pretty universal type switch that I've saved from the cars that I snagged the front suspensions from. All right, continues on. All right, welcome back to the 51 Hudson build. It is day 20. So we're getting up there, 20 days in. So I'm in the middle of wiring the car, but I want to get the engine turning over. I want to check oil pressure, make sure I didn't screw up the oil pump pickup tube O-ring when I change the pan. And yeah, so I want to get that done. So the car's in the air, and I'm gonna throw the starter on, which is not on yet. These are my wires for the El Camino wiring harness and my starter lead there. So I'm gonna throw the starter on, and we're gonna make a battery tray. I think the battery is gonna go up here on the frame. Probably have to cut open my inner fender a little bit to make a spot. Obviously, I'm gonna have to confirm it'll fit okay. Gotta crank the wheel all the way over and see what my space is looking like. But I think it'll be better to put the battery on the passenger side. One other thing I noticed too is I may be able to get my factory air conditioning bracket mounted if I trim the front of this off. So I think I'm gonna cut that off as well. All right, we got aluminum pieces blown on the floor, and we got an AC bracket. Sweet. Not putting air conditioning in the car right now, but nice to have the option in the future. All right, so I need a battery mount and a battery location. So I'm going to use battery out of the Escalade or Silverado or whatever, because that's what I have. They're kind of big, but won't have to worry about low cranking amps. And I got a piece of angle iron here. That's going to be the start of the battery mount. Then it's just location. I was thinking about putting it down there, but then I realized my radiator hose may be kind of funky, the lower, and maybe right where the battery is. I don't know. I have to see if I can get a straight down or a water neck. Then I could probably put the battery there. Or maybe like the old Tri-5 Chevy, I could put a little notch in the inner fender and put the battery up there underneath the wiper tower. Or on the driver's side, I could put it down there. I don't know. I'm going to make the battery mount first and figure it out. All right, so real simple here. Set the battery on the steel, mark it, cut it into pieces. And cut the next piece. Two more to go. All right, there's our 4 pieces cut out. Take a square, clamps, whatever, get it squared up, weld it up. All right, she's all welded together. Good fit. I left about a 1/4 inch all the way around, so there's no issues. Oof, that'll work fine. Batteries are heavy, so this is probably, I don't know if that's 1/8 wall, but it's pretty heavy angle iron, and welded together. Maybe overkill, but I don't want my battery going anywhere. Now to find a place to put it. All right, decision has been made. I was really seriously considering putting the battery up there, but I just don't know, because what if I want to put a turbo on this in the future? Hey, you never know. Then that might be in the way. So that means it's going up front somewhere, because this car, as big as it is, really does not have a big trunk. So I'd rather keep it up front, so when it dies, it's easy to jump start. So I think I'm going to put it over here in the lower corner. You can see I drew a couple lines. I put the car in the air and turned the wheel all the way to the left, and I realized that I can put the battery off the frame rail about 3 inches, and it'll be still clearance to the tire. But I got to move the inner fender well in that area a little bit. So what I'm going to do is cut the vertical lines and try to bend it on the horizontal line out of the way a little bit and see what it looks like. And if I screw up, I guess I got to weld it back together. All right, ain't nothing left but to do it. So let's do it. Can't see. Here, all the way down. should probably try not to set my tire on fire because I need those. She's just smoking. Whew. All right. Push the inner fender out of the way there a little bit. I'm going to crank the wheel all the way over again. Take this guy, and I can actually sit like that. I think that'll be all right. Beat on this inner fender so it kind of curves in and then down. I think we'll be in good shape. All right, so here we go. So when I had the battery in there, the positive terminal on this battery was very close to the power steering pump. So luckily I had this Optima around, and I think I'm gonna use that. And then the cables are out of the way of the engine. Not necessarily thrilled, you know, batteries are ugly, so it is what it is. I'm not gonna get hung up on it forever, but I think I'm gonna mount it there. You know, it's kind of behind the radiator support there, so it doesn't stick out so ugly. But I don't know, maybe I'll make a cover for it or something. But for now, that's where it is. Beat the snot out of the inner fender to get some clearance. That'll get re-welded once the battery mount is permanent. Right now it's a little bit crooked, but we'll get it leveled. But yeah, I'm gonna go with that. So we'll get that welded in and come on back. I had to quit for a little while and take care of some other stuff, but got it welded in. And yeah, it's welded in. It is, it's part of the frame now, so I just didn't feel like making it bolt in. It is what it is. If anybody wants to take it out, you better have a plasma, because this sucker ain't coming out. It's in there. So it's welded into the frame. It's got a crossbar on the bottom, welded to the bottom of the box or the mount down to the frame on the outside rail. So it's not going anywhere. Welded a piece of 3/8 threaded rod to the outside edge. So once the battery's in, I got to make a cross piece that will bolt up to this area and then slide down over the rod and hold the battery in place. But I lost some time. I have a feeling I'm going to be mixing up a lot of videos, or I should say a lot of more than one day in each video, because anymore it seems like a day in the garage is maybe 4 hours if I'm lucky. Just lots of things going on. But anyway, it's spray painted black because that's what this kind of build is. It's kind of a black spray paint build. I'm going to let that dry, set the battery in there, go get some lunch first, and then make the top mounting plate. All right, we're making a mess. I don't know how everything gets all messed up. Every time I start a project, everything goes everywhere. Don't understand. But anyway, now that we're back into the heavy fabrication, I made this. Okay, this is my adjustable bracket for the battery. Basically, there's a bolt I welded in there, and that wire's in the way, but it's in the way. But that bolt goes into this slot, and that way, when this bolts up, it's adjustable up and down. So if I throw a different battery in here with a different height, the part will still work. Anyway, the paint isn't even dry on it yet, but I'm going to put it on here. And do it with one hand, because that's how I have to do it, with holding my phone. And it's going to go like that. And that goes like that. Get the wire out of the way. And then that goes like that, and I bolt that up. And I put a bolt there, or a nut right there rather. And that's it. Clamps it on. Welded the bolt on this side and sprayed it black, because everything is sprayed black on this car. And I'll bolt it down and it works. And there it is. Looks factory, right? Sure it does. I have mentioned that this is a low buck project, right? Yeah. Well, if you haven't figured that out by now, just by the way I'm building this car, I'm sorry. But anyway, yeah, that piece there, that was made from a bed frame. Yeah, it had a wheel on it. See, there's pieces of the wheel. I'm not kidding. So, free works with the budget. Okay, what's next? Probably battery cables. All right, car's in the air. Battery cables in progress. First was the ground, which is this guy here. It's going from the battery to the block. And this ground cable is off the Escalade, same as the Silverado, so it has a second leg. And that's going to the frame, which is actually going to the body. So grounds are super important. So normally what I'll do on a body on frame car is I'll do ground wire from the battery to the block, from the block to the frame, and from the frame to the body. Now on this one, the body is the frame. They're already welded together. It's a unibody type car, so I don't need to do as much. These two ground legs will do the job. And then for the positive, I took the Silverado or Escalade positive cable again. Now it's got an extra leg here that used to go to the fuse box. I'm going to cut that back, or at least not destroy it completely, but cut off the terminal and tape it back in case I need it in sometime in the future. And I shortened up the Silverado cable, and I'm going to put an end on that and feed it through to the starter back there. All right, so I'm going to put an end on this cable. I know I went over this on the Buick build. I used to solder all my cables. Now I crimp them all. If I can get this off of here. Dull blade, not good. More dangerous than a sharp blade. All right, so this is coming off. All right. So, as I was saying, I used to solder the ends onto the cable, but now I crimp them all. Get the tool. All right, like I was saying, I think that was out of frame, but I used to solder my my connections. I'd heat that out and put solder in it. Now I crimp everything. Got one of these guys. It's a YQK70 hydraulic crimper with multiple dies. And get this set in here. Put that in there. Did I push it too far? Hold on here. Go. Hold that and crimp it. Go. It's not going anywhere. Now I got a nice shortened battery cable. Hopefully that showed up on video. All right, well, let's see here. I'm trying not to let that hit anything because that's hot. Hook up the ground. And see what happens here.
There's no computer or engine harness or anything connected right now. It's just the battery and the front harness from the El Camino. So I have power from the battery going to the starter. Those wires are hooked up. So I think the ignition should work now. I don't want to pump a bunch of transmission fluid on the ground, so I'm just going to hit the key and see if it bumps. Yep. All right, so there's the first success. Next I have to jumper out the transmission lines, and I want to hook an oil pressure gauge up. What I want to do is hook up an oil pressure gauge to this and crank it over, because I did put the eBay pan on it, and it's full of oil and such, new filter, but I want to make sure I didn't screw up the oil pickup O-ring, which is always a question, I guess. It felt like it went okay, but I want to see oil pressure to make sure. So first thing I do, I got to get back there and get the factory oil pressure sending unit off, which I'm going to break and turn into an oil pressure adapter for my mechanical gauge. And yep, you heard me right. I'm going to break it. That's what the hammer's for. Because I don't have a socket to reach that deep around it. At least I don't think so. She's broken. And I didn't even hit the cam sensor, so that's a good thing. All right, it took me a minute to figure out what size we'll get that out. Looks like it's 1 1/16. I can get the ratchet on it. There we go. All right, I'm in the middle of cleaning out this thing. I just took a carbide bit to the sending unit to grind out the plastic and the actual electrical sending unit in there. And it looks like I gotta go through a piece of plastic here or something. Still fighting this thing. I'm gonna try to hit it with a punch. Okay, looks like it was ceramic. The punch broke it. Shattered it. All right. I did this before. I don't remember having to go through all this. And busting out the stuff here. All right. Got all that junk busted out of there. So that must have been part of the sensor. It's actually like a ceramic, so I had to nail it with the punch. This guy. Crack it, break it out. All right, so now I've got this piece. Now I got to drill and tap that for 1/8 inch pipe thread so I can put my oil pressure fitting adapter in there. All right, thing's still hot. Just took the oil pressure fitting, set it inside the 1 1/16 socket, and started drilling it out for the 1/8 inch pipe thread. Got a tap. Don't ask me what size hole it is because I don't know. I don't even know if it's big enough yet. I'm going to try to tap that and see if it works. All right, there we go. Focus. It's tapped about, I don't know, halfway down, if that. Should be good enough. All right, oil pressure adapter created. Put that back on the car and hook up the gauge. Time to find out if we're going to continue this project or I'm going to take up another hobby. That's not good. Well, I know it had to fill the oil filter up. Hey! All right, I think we got like 30 pounds cranking. All right, for a minute there, thought I was gonna be finding something else to take care of my time. All right, I can't tell if there's any leaks back there. Let me turn the light on. Maybe just a little bit at the hose going in, but I don't care about that. This gauge is not staying in the car. But this old phone is not going to focus as well as I'd like down there, but it looks like the fitting itself is good. So that works.